Let's start with some interesting numbers. The number of green-eyed people, about only 2% of the world, which equals 158 million people. The number of US citizens, about 4% of the world, or 330 million people. The number of people who watched the Champions League final, about 4.8% of the world, or 380 million people. Lastly, the number of people who suffer from disabling hearing loss, over 5% of the world, or 430 million people. These numbers might come across as shocking. You might think to yourself, how can the number of deaf people be more than double the number of green-eyed people? I'm sure I have come across more green-eyed than deaf people. And it's probably true that you came across more green-eyed than deaf people. But why? The answer is unequal opportunities. The reason behind the unequal opportunities is lack of ways to learn and communicate. The only suitable way for deaf people to communicate is sign language. But not all deaf people can get the chance of learning sign language, especially in the Arab world. An unofficial survey by Egyptian streets showed that only 5% of the deaf actually communicate using Arabic Sign Language. The others communicate using basic signs, but they're not able to fully express themselves. This is often caused by lack of sign language education. With all these facts in hand, the major problem is the actual delivery of Arabic Sign Language education. It's clear that we need a virtual, free of charge solution. Other applications try tackling the same problem, which is making Arabic Sign Language accessible to everyone. They rely on the user receiving content, either by watching images or videos, which makes it very hard for the users to be consistent. This often might leave the sign language learner discouraged. It's important to note that sign language might need a lot of time to learn. As a result, interactivity and practice is very much needed. On the opposite side, spoken language applications provide a fun way of learning. We also found lack of applications that teach Arabic Sign Language beyond the basics, like letters and numbers, which is not enough for the learner to be able to communicate properly.
Our proposed solution for this problem is Musheer. Musheer is an Arabic Sign Language virtual tutor that can give sign language learners a chance to have access to a free and interactive environment, helping them learn Arabic Sign Language anytime, anywhere, using only their mobile phones. Musheer gives the opportunity to learn Arabic Sign Language not only for deaf people and their families, but to everyone who is interested in making the world a better place for deaf people. As we believe in the power of gamification and how it would make learners more engaged and consistent regardless of their age, Musheer is designed to make users feel like they are playing a game while learning. Musheer provides a gamified environment by using game elements such as animations, levels, badges, coins, interactive feedback, and the 3D avatar. And let me walk you through how this 3D avatar engine works. What it does basically is taking a video from the dataset and applying some processes to eventually make the avatar able to perform the same sign as the video in a mobile application. Musheer uses the 3D avatar to display a sign, then ask the learner to perform the same sign. Using a 3D avatar makes it easy for users to see the performed sign clearly from all angles and also to zoom in or out. Pretty fun, right? The 3D avatar is also customizable, so users can feel a connection between them and the character.
Giving immediate feedback to someone who is learning a visual language, such as sign language, is very crucial, because training the muscle memory isn't as easy as just learning words. It needs the real-time interaction, like when a teacher tells you when you spell a word incorrectly. Musheer provides the users with immediate feedback using deep learning. Recently, artificial intelligence and particularly deep learning are being used to help automate visual-based tasks such as facial recognition, license plates recognition, emotion recognition, and many more complex visual tasks. We are trying to take advantage of the latest technologies and research to help deaf people get better education for their only reasonable way of communication. The core module of our solution is an artificial intelligence model that is able to tell if the user has performed a given sign correctly or not, using only the mobile phone camera. We are working on creating a ready visual-based deep learning model that performs dynamic hand gesture recognition for matching purposes. Building dynamic and static hand gesture recognition systems has been proved to be applicable by various researchers across the world. Our problem definition for the model varies a bit from the traditional translation problem, because we already know exactly which sign the user is trying to perform. So we can get the probability of this exact classification from the output of a recognition system, then pass it to a threshold to decide whether the sign has performed correctly or not, which is a slightly easier problem from the translation problem. We're currently experimenting with multiple different approaches until we find the best model that suits the dataset and gets acceptable accuracy in both training and real-time testing. The latest model we trained on a subset of the dataset gets a higher validation accuracy, but further tests are being conducted at the moment. Deep learning models need a lot of data to train on. Finding a publicly available dataset for Arabic Sign Language was a bit of a challenge, but fortunately, researchers from King Fahd University in Saudi Arabia have created the KARSL dataset recently. We're using the KARSL, which is the largest available dataset of Arabic Sign Language videos in terms of samples. The KARSL consists of multiple sign language experts performing the signs of 11 chapters of the Arabic Sign Language Dictionary. We believe that using advanced technologies to give a chance for the deaf people, their families, and their loved ones to get better at communicating with each other is such a great use of science and technologies.
We combine all the previous elements to provide an Android-based solution. Our solution follows a specific color palette and a user-friendly interface. Let me walk you through the application to see these elements. For convenience, using the application does not require a sign-in process. You simply enter and learn. And don't worry about your related data. It's locally stored. The application is very easy to use. You can see everything right in front of you. Everything's placed where you're going to expect it to be. The application has three main sections. The first section is a practicing section where users can find various categories, each of which consists of opened and closed levels. The user can learn a sign by watching the 3D avatar performing it and then gets asked to perform the sign. Then the user gets immediate feedback with the help of the AI model. If they perform the sign right, then it's time to level up and learn a new sign. The second section is the challenges section where the user gets to test their Arabic Sign Language knowledge by going through different challenges. After completing a challenge, the user gets feedback in a form of a score, which he decides if the next challenge is unlocked. The third and last section is a dictionary, where the user can find various signs from the Arabic Sign Language performed by the 3D avatar. Users can also check whether the specific sign was watched before or not. Our solution is implemented with the objective of deployment, so we are following Google Play policies. All aspects of the application are free for commercial use.
Let's imagine a society where there are no differences. All opportunities are equally divided. Seems like a beautiful world to live in, right? Musheer can contribute to building this beautiful world by helping expand the deaf community, which is a huge population, by delivering Arabic Sign Language to almost everyone with a mobile phone and internet connection. Musheer aims to make Arabic Sign Language as common as the spoken languages in the Arab world, so deaf people can have a bigger chance of making friends and communicating with people they will be dealing with on a daily basis. As the number of Arabic Sign Language learners and speakers increase, more boundaries will break. The labor market will welcome new employees. The schools will cherish new students. More eyes will be pointed towards the deaf and their needs. As we were motivated by other solutions, more solutions will arise with the sole purpose of serving deaf people. Now, speaking of the current progress, it's consisted of three aspects. First, the 3D avatar. We successfully integrated the 3D avatar into an Android application. As for the Arabic Sign Language Recognition AI model, we trained a model on a subset of the dataset and got a reasonable validation accuracy. Currently, we're working on testing the model. Lastly, the user interface and experience. We designed the initial wireframing and color palettes. Also implemented some of the wireframes into an Android application. Conducted a research on how to use the gamification elements the best way we can.
Now let's see what's being used to create Musheer. As Musheer is an Android application, Android Studio is being used to build the application, Blender to create the animated 3D avatar, Anaconda, Jupyter, Colab, and Figma for development. For programming, we used several languages, including Kotlin, Java, and Python. For the frameworks, Musheer uses MediaPipe, OpenCV to pre-process the dataset videos and build the AI model, Themeform, PyPy plugin to generate the animated 3D avatar, TensorFlow and Keras to train the neural network.